Well, the Supreme Court of Nigeria has slated October 23 for the hearing of the application filed by the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Atiku Abubakar, against the victory of President Bola Tinubu at the 2023 election.
This was disclosed in a hearing notice signed by a Supreme Court Registrar, Zainab M. Garba, dated October 19, 2023. Atiku is appealing the judgment of the Presidential Election Petition Court in Abuja, which dismissed his petition and affirmed Mr. Tinubu's victory. The former vice president is seeking to nullify Tinubu's victory based on alleged non-compliance with the Electoral Act by the Independent National Electoral Commission, corrupt practices, and the president's alleged forgery of his Chicago State University certificate. Joining us virtually to discuss this is Great Imo, the public affairs commentator, and
Cyril Abaku, VOP's in-house analyst. All right. Well, good morning to you, Great Imo. Good morning to you. Now, we do know that this... good morning again. Good morning. Cyril. We do know that this is in court now, so but we'll just, sketch around the matter on the fair comments. Great. Now, how do you expect it? What are your thoughts on this? How do you think this will play out?
Well,
what should Atiku expect, really?
First and foremost, can you hear me?
Yes, clearly too. Go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, Moses, Cyril and Esther, and good morning to our viewers.
All right.
First and foremost, I would like Nigerians to appreciate His Excellency Vice President Atiku Abubakar, P2B, and every other Nigerian who has gone to the tribunal to seek to redress whatever grievances they have during the election. Because of the very many disappointments Nigerians have had in the time past, from some misjudgments in the time past, so many Nigerians have lost hope. They have lost faith with the judiciary. But I will want to disagree with that disappointment in the sense that if we insist that not going that route, we insist on not going that route, the alternative is dangerous, and that will be self-help and in some cases jungle justice. We know that some people are really disappointed, and they're disappointed by the umpire and some other institutions of government that were supposed to ensure that we didn't get to this point. But unfortunately, the only thing that the rule of law permits is that people should go to the court or the tribunal to ventilate. And that is why the first thing I have this morning for this gentleman is commendation. We have seen other countries where elections that were seen to have been marred by irregularity, violence, rigging, not following the electoral process. Opponents didn't wait to be told to go to the courts like we were told here. They simply went to the street and sorted it out. In fact, in 2011 here, even our young men and women were betted in their own blood, those who went to serve Nigeria as under youth service corps, and they came back to their homes in body bags because certain elements then were not patient with anything due process, having experienced disappointments in court. And it's also an opportunity to prick the heart of judiciary to know that the peace of this nation, the progress of this nation must not continue to be toyed with, because we might be dealing with a generation right now that have the maturity to handle it, but we don't know what will happen next. For example, I was actually talking with a politician yesterday night who actually have never contested an election, and he told me that he swear that God should not allow him to contest the election. If he does, that all he needs to do is in 2 years start amassing weapons, start gathering court boys, sponsoring them, because that when we come here and start preaching due process, is looking at us that, are you doing politics? Are you talking about politics in Nigeria or politics elsewhere? So when you begin to see educated people, people who engage in business, start discussing things like this, it tells you the depth of disappointment and anger in the land. So if we have people who have taken it upon themselves to go to the court, to endure. In fact, I commended some times ago when Peter Obi said the obedient movement should not come out for protest, even though it was within their rights. But I think sitting at a vantage position, he may have seen what they could not see, and that warranted him to say, no, don't come, because there may be other issues surrounding it. So let's be thankful to them first, and then say that it is the right thing to do. That Atiku went to court and is pursuing this case to its logical conclusion. It is important because those who rule Nigeria must not take the citizens for granted. It is happening all over the world, where the people who hijack power and become too comfortable in their feudal engagement in the name of politics. After a while, they become very vicious, fascist elements, driving the economy and their society down. So we must continue to engage and to fight for the rule of law through the court, and also continue to fight for the justice system to be improved. Is the right thing to do, and Atiku is welcome to have done that.
All right then, so Cyril, now let me come to you. Your thoughts on this? You think it's a futile battle, or should all eyes be on the judiciary at this time?
But of course, all eyes have to be. This is principally because Nigeria's political process, especially the ballot, is not where it ought to be. The ballot is sick. The ballot box is sick. It's sick. It's seriously sick. That's why election cases move from the ballot box to the gavel until the judge has made a pronouncement. It's not over yet. How many countries in the world have developed their democracies through the courts? It means then that you can carefully craft how you perform at on election day, and then prepare to go and finish it up in the courts, which is clearly another way of circumventing or subverting the will of Nigeria, of the electorate. But in Atiku's own case, I think that two things are happening here. The first is about, you see, the substantive outcome of the election itself was what the appeal court dealt with in the first instance, which has also been appealed. But the second matter he is raising now is a matter more of the process of asking whether our political parties have enough will to live by values, whether our political parties are able to hold their own together morally, whether our parties are strong enough to be platforms where people who know that they ordinarily shouldn't be in politics will never bother to go there. Because matters of certificate, questions of forgery, matters relating to deposition, whether somebody really went to school or not, those are very, very fundamental issues which shouldn't even have come to court. So, for example, if indeed, assuming without conceding, that the person who has become president was a former armed robber or a former con artist, that is a former niner, or a former internet fraudster, for example, again, the question would be, why does such a matter have to come to court? The parties, the political parties, APC, PDP, APM, AA, Accord, and so on, don't they have minimum basic values that should even deter people with certain characteristics from joining them in the first instance? That's where I'm going. The matters that are dealt with at the court about double nomination, about violence on election day, about INEC not transmitting, those are ballot issues. You see, but like former governor of Ebonyi, Dave Umahi, he said one time, he said, Nigerian politicians are out that they know. He was said when he was governor, he said they know. I think that was shortly after he had won second time. He said they know that when you secure your party nomination, the next hurdle is main election. The next hurdle is the courts. Maybe going from high court to...
So they budget for all that.
Imagine where politicians are aware that you are not truly and fully elected until the governance. That's not politics.
Okay,
That is a judicialization.
Do you consider don't you consider our democracy a young one?
It is not young. It is not young. That theory of everything must start small and become and grow to it's not necessarily so. You know why? America's democracy took only so long to develop. The question was, did they have any example to follow? They had none. They fought off a monarchy and just believed that somehow they were going to form their own system and that was what they did. They had no example to copy. So they managed to learn through the process. So no matter how long it took them, they didn't allow women to vote, they didn't allow their young blacks to vote, they didn't allow. Today, if since 1999 women have been voting in Nigeria, everybody who can vote is voting in this country. And we copied our system first from Britain and second from America. So we have a lot and enough to copy from. First of all, good question is, how can we even allow democracy, allow technology, for example, to help the democratic process? We're not fully optimizing it. Look at now, a country, we took the matter to the courts. Now the courts have even told INEC that they are not bound by any law to use IREV to transmit election results electronically. INEC didn't know that before.
Okay, we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that. Because I was going to ask for Great's view on our democracy, how young it is. Does he share a different view from what Cyril just gave? And also, I would like us to look at the ambiguity of our laws, especially the one guiding INEC, which is what we're talking about now. Great. What are your thoughts, really?
My opinion on the fact that I don't want to believe our democracy is young. We have historical facts to back up that. Actually, many people didn't know that actually before Nigeria got independence, we were already practicing democracy. Yeah, the system of government was different because we are under a parliamentary system. We have had the elections in Nigeria as far back as the 40s. We have had plebiscites. We have had all manner of systems of democracy before the dawn of independence in 1960. And despite the 1963 Republican Constitution, we also had an election, irrespective of the challenges. So, meanwhile, by 1965, Singapore was just being born as a nation. It was just being born as a nation. Despite that we were under colonial rule, we had practiced democracy before we became independent, but Singapore on itself never even really existed as a nation state, but was under the Malaysian authority and part of Malaysia. They started their journey by 19, but today look at what Singapore looks like. So there is no excuse about anybody that is above 40 as a human being that does not know what he wants to do with life is almost a useless person. So a democracy that have lasted since 1960, irrespective of those military interventions, we already had the foundation. We already have practiced it. So the system was understood. And there were no two generational gap between the military intervention, because some of those who were part of that democratic processes were also back on the saddle when the military left. So we had a tradition that is something we could work on. And already 24 years is enough time for a serious nation. China pulled 800 million people out of poverty in 20 years. Nations rise and fall on the altar of leadership. When you have characters who have no collective vision, who does not have shared philosophy about their nation's future and development, you keep looking for excuse to help them to continue to undermine and waste everybody's time. Sometimes at my age, I feel that literally apart from my individual potential and those of people I know, a lot of characters have really wasted people's time in this country, wasted generations on their pursuit of ephemeral, individual material wealth or material things that they die off and they are buried in 1 second. They forget about it. They have no, futuristic thinking. So based on that, I would say it is the unseriousness of leadership, first and foremost, that we're suffering from. It has never been that we have democracy, our democracy is too young. No, those are very bad excuses. And you were saying something again about a court or thereabout. You talked about the courts.
Okay.
Hello?
Yes,
so
yes, okay.
You were talking about the court.
Yes.
Now, what has happened is that a whole lot has gone on with our judiciary. And I think in like manner we fought the military to restore democracy in Nigeria. Honestly, beyond this election, there has to be a concerted effort. The Nigerians have to focus on the judiciary because it has become the nucleus of corruption in Nigeria. We need to see how we can sanitize, because if we are not able to do it, look at what Siri was talking about. People with criminal records appearing on our ballot boxes, and you have DSS, you have all of them. And when they have gone through this, even on the face of the document before the courts, even a layman can see that this is corruption, this is not tenable, but somebody will sit on that table, pull that gavel, and put the country further into mess. Because he or she herself has been a mess, and you feel that there is nothing wrong with the society becoming a mess. And it's very, very unfortunate. We are now have a situation where politicians place people in judicial position, from being appointed as customary court judges to the appeal court, high court. They are shunting and they are bribing, they are squeezing to get their people there, waiting for a period like this, because they see politics just for capturing of state and to squander the wealth of the nation. That is the problem.
All right.
So, Mr. Imo, I have this question for you. What do you think the key witnesses or the evidence will be used for the hearing on Monday?
Well, the evidences has already been presented.
Okay.
We don't want to preempt the court, but first and foremost, one of the issues that were adjudicated at the tribunal level was the forfeiture of $460,000, which was said to have been a proceed of money laundering related to narcotics trading, which is effectively established to be a criminal issue in America. But in Nigeria, a tribunal told you that because of that person who was convicted can travel to that country and come back, he has no issue. Well, I'm not a judge, but even little kids young kids in Nigeria are even laughing at all of those kind of statements. Atiku have gone all the way to Chicago State University to establish that the certificate presented to INEC did not emanate from the Chicago State University. Hence, it is one of the evidences that will be presented there. I don't know if they will further present another evidence which was discovered that the qualification used in attending or gaining admission, which said that the Bola Tinubu was a student and graduated in 1970 in Government College, Lagos, which never existed until 1974. If such a document has been deposited in a school in America and it is not correct, that means it is also another criminal offense. Then we also have a situation where in 1999, he had said that he went to Government College Ibadan, and the primary school he mentioned also were later found to be not correct. But when he was taken to court, he was already a governor, and what was argued there was that he had immunity, and the thing has to go to the State House of Assembly, and what they came up with was that he was not the one that filled his form. But in law, when you go to swear an affidavit, you are liable to whatever there because you are the one who signed. On the face of that document was everything crime all over it. And in a country where we are serious about it, because one thing I want to let Nigerians know, integrity of leadership is an intangible asset of nation. I repeat, integrity of leadership is an intangible asset of nation. People don't know how the integrity of leadership rubs off on a nation positively. So when we begin to play around with all of this kind of story, with everybody in the world listening to, if African countries are laughing at us, honestly, sometimes I even wonder what those who claim to be Nigerian leaders are thinking, because in other times, even without going to court, they will gather themselves and sit behind the doors and say, Nigeria cannot suffer this kind of weakness. Because now, when a president has been compromised or has been this weakened, he will become subject of international ridicule, and in order to extricate himself from it, he will begin to make concessions on behalf of the country to please some of these international agents and powers. People don't know about it. We have sat in this country without people knowing that because Nigeria was going through a war during the Nigerian Biafran Civil War, that certain people signed away part of our oil so that they can support Nigeria to fight Biafra. And for 50 years, it was all kept secret. Yet we had oil, Nigeria was going poor. Those who supported to fight the war, especially who even instigated us to fight the war. That is why they don't even care. If you bring an armed robber from Krikri to come and rule you, you are giving them further advantage. But when you have a nation where people don't think deeply, they don't know how this is affect the generality of the people. Hence, they don't understand that in the integrity of leaders is an intangible asset of nations. Right. And that is one of the things we must be careful about.
All right, then. We should be careful indeed. All right, Cyril, now, we know that Lady Justice is blind. All right, so, but...
should be blind.
Well, is blind, you know, but the Nigerian case might be a little bit technical. And that brings me to my question. The technicalities that we see play out in the courts, especially when it concerns election cases. There are a lot of technicalities that pop up, and Nigerians will be like, okay, this is the first time I'm hearing this. How do you think this can be dealt with so that it doesn't make the judicial system look like it's been infiltrated?
I hasten to answer by giving you a reference of something going on currently. A non-member of an association is in the running for the presidency of that organization. And when I saw it, and I said, well, it's possible. Only that anybody opposing that man in that organization had better pay that he didn't go to court. Because if he did, he is likely to get a ruling that will tell the organization that this man, whether he's a member or not, he can be the president. It's a possibility, you never know. Now, Lady Justice, is she blind or blindfolded? Because, you know, the Nigerian case, anything can happen. It is either she's blind or blindfolded. To answer your question, frontally, technicalities are, we have almost, you know, it's as if sometimes people just wait and see, we know that substantive justice will not happen, but let's even see the technicalities that are going to exploit this time around. And I fear to say that we've already been told what that is going to be. We've been told. The other day, a hint was released, and because of the nature of this matter, I'm sorry I won't be able to reproduce it here, but we've been told what it, I mean, we saw all the grounds the appeal court used to. I said it here that these things were going to go this way, and it went that way. The Abuja, the creation of Abuja, 25%, everything. We said it. In fact, the court went as far as saying that Chetman's double nomination was not a deliberate act. So if you have that kind of, that one is not, it's no more technicality. That one is now judicial sympathy. Judicial, you know, sympathy and saying, look, our sympathies are, just let it pass. So if we are hoping that that water will be turned to wine or bread will multiply, that is, I don't know. For those who believe in miracles, but I do. What I do know is that if, like the Yoruba say, if it walks like a dog and clocks like a dog and bears its feathers like a dog, it is most likely that it's a dog. The way it happened with the court of first instance, in which we already saw or already had, already knew, or already given an inkling into what the outcome was likely to be, and it came out exactly the way we had been told. I shudder to think if it will be different this time around. We've already been told what the grounds are. If those prayers are admitted, then I mean it's a fait accompli.
All right.
Right now, people do not really have this faith in the judicial system in this country anymore. So I want to know, how does this case reflect the importance of the judicial system in ensuring fair elections?
So this is the point here, Masinachi. Judicial intervention in an election process is supposed to be an intervention. Mm-hmm. It's not meant to be a norm.
Yeah. As
it is today. Go and check how much INEC is even paying lawyers to defend its elections. You know, usually when you sue the other party and INEC. Go and check how much INEC alone. I think now it should be running into billions. It means INEC itself is failing. That's what it means. And so, but the political class that should sit back and say, guys, this electoral process, it shouldn't be do or die. We're not in politics for ourselves, we're in politics to make our country better. And whether it benefits us or not, I think that in putting country first, what we must do is to make sure that the process is made free, fair, smooth, accountable, transparent, and believable, and, you know, as good as possible.
Transparent as
what
possible.
Can we then do? A good electoral process is something you pick it to generations to come. It doesn't look at America, for example. Trump. Do you mean, for example, if Trump could do it, he wouldn't have remained in power today? But he couldn't influence the process because he won't be able to.
All right.
So in our own case, you asked a very salient question. The first time we had this such. I mean, but so that wasn't the first time. In '65, go and check the election that brought back Tafawa Balewa as Prime Minister of Nigeria. He was terribly flawed because he most likely didn't win that election. But through the back door, he was squeezed back in. '79, the same thing happened. Shagari didn't win the election. I doubt it. Through the back door. When I mean back door, I'm talking about the gavel. He was brought back in. So this pattern has been there for a long time. What I think that the political class owes it to our country, to make sure that the process is free, fair, and credible. Whether you win or lose, it don't matter. It should be that you are doing something for your country, but will they ever do it?
We'll wait to see.
Will they ever do it?
We'll wait to see.
So up next on VOP this morning, President Bola Tinubu files an application before a United States District Court of Columbia. Details in a moment.